right, welcome to another edition of Sling Paint Gaming.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for watching.
Oh, sorry. You went a little long on that one.
I know.
You threw me off. I'm Berto.
I'm Nims.
All right. Tie Punisher.
Yeah. So Berto started painting a good bit of his ships here, within the last month or so.
Yep.
He has a lot more patience than I do. Apparently a lot more free time. But just kind of wanted to talk to you, figure out how you did it,
Okay.
what you used,
Okay.
for anybody out there looking to get into painting. I mean, I'm a little curious because I would like to try and paint. So what you guys see here is a normal stock Punisher.
Yep.
And Berto decided to paint it a little bit.
So, yeah, I mean, so I've been, the funny part is I grew up painting a lot of ceramics.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, this is, because of the detailed ceramics and you're doing, little trees and this and that, painting happy little trees. I also do a lot of painting, acrylic paintings and stuff. So I wanted to dib and dab in model paintings. I used to paint the little models like, cars when I grew up and stuff like that. So when I got into this, I'm like, okay, it can't be too far different. And it's not. It's actually a lot of the techniques that I've used in the past, and I'm going to also call them hacks, paint hacks, and not hacks like in a bad thing, more like hacking how I can do certain things where I don't have to be super detailed on certain things.
Right.
So the Tie Punisher, what I wanted to paint it like a gray version, like a lighter version, but I love the first order feel to it with the big bright red in certain areas. And I know like the tie. So that was the inspiration for this. Was I wanted to lighten the ships up because I liked how the Tie FO was like a mostly all white with black trim, but I wanted to do like an all white version to kind of just see what it stands out and then really hit it with that red.
Okay. Nice.
So honestly, the cool part about this was I took regular primer paint that comes with it. It's actually P3 Formula primer paint right there, that big guy. And the easy part about this was originally I probably wouldn't do this again because I thought I had to get a little bit more detailed, but I actually broke off the fins on purpose. Yeah,
That's
actually.
scary.
No, it wasn't that bad. I just twisted it off and then I cleaned up like with an X-Acto blade so I can re-glue it back on.
Okay.
But if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have to do that for this particular paint job. But I did break it off, and I basically stuck it on little like skewer sticks, right? That's one of my hacks. Actually, there's skewer sticks right in there if you want to grab one of those.
Cool.
I stuck all the pieces on a skewer stick, and I actually painted it on them. And I just basically took light coats. I mean, it was easy. Like I did 2 or 3 coats, stopped. Came back like 5 minutes later. Another 2, 3 coats, and I'm not spraying it on it and then coming off. I'm spraying here and driving right by. Spraying here.
So you're
and
not
driving right
laying
by.
down a whole bunch at once
I'm
and
misting
gobbing it up, right?
No, I'm misting
Okay.
right on it, and that's the
Gotcha.
key, because a lot of people I've seen a lot of ships when they start painting and stuff, they'll take the ship and they go and spray on
And
it.
it just kind of like
Runs
drips down.
right.
That's what it would look like if I painted it.
It's not that. But that's a hack, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
It's like you spray off it. And you continue, and a lot of that is like from the automotive
That's
collision body. Right. Am I
Right.
saying that right? Yeah, automotive collision body paintwork. You always spray off and you drag on. But I used that technique, and I think it was like 3 times. I took 3 passes on all the parts, painting a bright base white, and it still showed a little dark in some areas, like in the cracks and crevices. But that's okay because I'm gonna leave the crevices and areas dark, so that was okay with me. So I probably could have got away with another couple coats. Some people say they strip the paints. Honestly, I have not. Any of the ships I painted, I have not stripped at all.
Stripped. What do you mean by stripped exactly?
So stripped is, the Fantasy Flight ships all come pre-painted.
Right.
So some people they use different solutions to take the paint off.
Okay.
Right, and
I
then
see what
they
you
really
mean.
paint. But the problem with that is because you're using, I don't want to say like true acid, but it's very acidic type paints to help get some of that paint remover off. Acidic paint removers. You sometimes will also melt the plastic and you lose the detail.
Now, why would you want to strip it instead of just putting a primer coat on?
I think a lot of people thought that if you didn't put the primer coat on, they would lose the detail because you're layering the paint.
Oh, I see what you
But
mean.
I mean,
Okay.
if you look at it, it still has a lot of the detail. But the key thing is you're not holding that paint
Right.
jug on that thing.
So speaking of detail, people at home might not be able to tell, but look at the little red accents in
Red windows.
the windows,
Yep,
the
that was a hack.
edges of the
That's a trick to show everybody.
the ordnance tubes there and everything. Yeah. So how did you do that?
All right. So after I painted the whole entire ship, right, the key part about this is the antiquing. All right. So all the cracks and crevices, that actually, I'm using that antiquing to my thing. So I don't have to be perfect on those red stripes on the side or the red dots within the window.
So by antiquing, do you mean kind of make it that like weathered,
feels
like it's
in,
been flying through space
Right.
for a while.
and also the whole antiquing too is also what fills in the cracks and crevices, so it shows depth.
Okay.
Right, and that's the key thing with antiquing is it allows you to show depth. And there's also another thing called dry brushing technique, which gives you the highlights. So you got darks and highlights, because if you just paint a ship white and then put red on it, it's going to look like a white and red ship. There's going to be no depth to it. There's going to be no showing the feels, the cracks and crevices. So definitely what I did with here is like with the windows. Now, my hands somewhat firm. Like sometimes it shakes. It doesn't shake a lot, but if I'm holding something fine, it will shake after a while. So all I did was in those windows, if you can see the windows, I didn't have to go into the cracks and crevices and all the way around the window to paint it red. All I was is I just put a red dot in each of those windows, and then what I did was I gobbed on the antiquing. I let it sit right on that, and after it dried,
Just kind of spread out.
it spread out automatically. So I used the natural ability of what liquids do and how they concave and they sit on the surface.
Science.
Like science. I mean, that's exactly what I did. And the cool part is, see how the window has a little sheen to it? I added there's a little thing called mixing medium where you can add a couple drops to your paint, and it's actually that little white bottle right there. Yep, that it. P3 makes it. So you take like a brush load of Null Oil from Citadel. That's what I used to fill that in after I painted the little red window. And what I did was I added a couple drops to that. I gobbed it up and let the gob sit on top of it. So now I have those little red dots around the window, and the gobs are sitting there. Came back in 5-10 minutes later, and you can see it all dried up, and you could see the little red tint in the windows, and it perfectly sat on that window, so it gave the perfect amount of highlight and let everything else seep through.
So now, did you use a brush to paint all of this, or did you use like an air tool?
No, good question. I actually, for the main paint coats, I was just using a regular spray can, the white Formula 1 primer paint. For the Null Oil, Citadel, this is why I love Citadel paints. Citadel has, any of those Citadel paints, they have brush kits they come with. They actually have.
At your house.
That's actually the lead belcher, which is pretty cool. It makes things look metallic.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome paint. And a lot of these paints are actually for like the Warhammer games. But if you grab my paint bucket, all the red brushes there, I don't have that many brushes, but Citadel comes out with special brushes for their particular paints. Each paint, actually, if you get that lead belcher paint back out again, each paint has a different style here. Like this one says base, all right? So you find the brush that says base on it, whichever one. But like this is the wash brush. See how it says wash? This one is the glaze brush. So you use the particular brush that matches to the paint and allows you to actually just fill in the spots. This is the dry brush right here, the medium dry brush. You can see how it's shorter, stubbier, and I'll tell you in a future video why that dry brush is like that. But for the wash, so after I paint everything wash, the antiquing, I took the antiquing brush from Citadel and just coated the shit out of it. I mean, no rhyme or reason.
With what? What did you coat it with?
Null Oil. It's actually, I'm not sure if you see that there. It's a little jar. It's dark in color. It's probably that one right there. Is that Null Oil? Yes, it is.
Oh, look at that.
The one in oil, Null Oil. I already went through 2 jars of this shit. That right there is Liquid Expert. That makes anybody an expert.
Really?
Because see so after I painted this section red, right? And I didn't even have to get into all the details. If you look at the cracks and crevices, I filled the Null Oil in the cracks and crevices here. and that filled up all the spots where I didn't get too close.
Okay.
And in no oil, you just want like this go all over it, so you can see how it's like all different faded.
Right.
And you let it soak into the dark areas, and you covered the whole ship, and that's what created that.
There's that again.
Yeah, Citadel. I mean, Citadel's got it right. I know a lot of people like different paints and stuff, but I really enjoy the Citadel paints. I do have some other paints here, but the Citadel's been working really nicely. And I got a bunch of the different colors and stuff.
Yeah, they make all types of
colors.
All types of colors.
And the shades, well, these are like the no oil's a shade or a wash or an antiquing, whatever you want to call it. It's just paint, but with a lot of water in it, or maybe a medium that makes it very, very thin.
Okay.
So it allows you to coat your ship where it's not.
So instead of taking one of these paints and then adding a thinner to it to break it down, it already comes like pretty thin.
Really thinned out.
Okay, gotcha.
And they have different colors too. They have I don't know if you saw everybody saw the Millennium Falcon video up there, or actually you can grab the freighter, the one right to the left of it. That's the original Millennium Falcon. The freighter and the matching Millennium Falcon. This is another wash right here, but they have a red wash instead of the dark wash. It looks like smoke, the no oil. They have a green wash. They have a sepia wash, and they also have an Agrax Earth shade, which is probably my other number 2 most used shade, which gives very earthy tones. So it gives like a dirt feel to it.
Okay, nice.
But using like the points right there on the ordnance tubes. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. All that is right there is actually me just taking a small brush, dipping in some RePaint, and just doing this, almost flicking it on. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty small. So I'm
Yeah,
curious to know
I actually have a magnifying glass that I do some of this stuff on. You know, the light comes on and stuff. So this actually helps out. You definitely need. Oh, I'm hitting the TV here. You definitely need one of those to help you out. The engines, I did actually airbrush.
Okay.
So I did actually have an airbrush, but you don't have to. I did with the airbrush because it was my first time using an airbrush on the models. I wanted to see what it was look like. And basically it's taking that blue that's on the right there. Right, that blue, which I think, Lothran blue, which is I think the perfect engine like glow color for the ships that blow the red the blue glow. And then what you do is you take just a regular Praxi white color. I'm not sure if that's the regular
white scar.
Yep, yeah, white scar. You take the white and you hit it with the blue first, right? You hit it with the blue first, and then what you do is you take the white and you just hit the white a little bit. And you can usually hit. I could have done probably a little bit more in the center, but I just kept it as is. I liked it. Done.
Now, both of those are airbrush. Everything else was brushed.
The engines were the only thing I airbrushed with those two colors, but I did add some lead belcher on some highlights here on the fins, but it was very, very minimal. And when I did the no oil, didn't pop. And also on the engine casings, I did use some lead belcher, but you really can't see it because the no oil kind of washes it out. So probably next time I would do that, I probably wouldn't do that. But other than that, I mean, only a handful of colors. The biggest thing was the detail with the red on the sides of the panels.
Well, it still looks pretty cool. I mean, it looks better than an original. You know, it gives a little bit more originality to when you're playing at the shop.
It's definitely conversation starters.
Yeah,
I have a lot of people
everybody at the shop when we play comes up and says how cool it is, which is why I just thought this might be a good video.
Well, thank you.
So if you guys are interested in painting, check us out. We're gonna do a couple more videos like this, kind of tutorials. Maybe we'll show you how I learned to paint. So,
yes.
Thanks for watching. Like us on Facebook. Leave a comment down below. See if you want to see a specific paint scheme, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the video and subscribe. Help us spread the word.
Thanks, guys.
See you next time.